Hey everybody, it's Chris with Chris's Train Layout. It is time for layout update number 4. We are on the back half of April 2018. Layout progress has been a little slower than it has been between our previous updates. Now the weather's getting a little bit warmer, not getting down to the basement as much, trying to do some work outside. But I thought this would be a good time to do an update. I just got back from York a couple hours ago, so we'll talk about some of the things I got from there, not too much, and look at some of the layout progress as well, and some of the new trains that I've got up on the layout. Not new to me, just new to the layout. Finally got them out of boxes. So what are some of the big things that have been happening over the past month or so is mostly ground cover, which is light and relatively easy work. I had some people coming into town, so I wanted to make sure things looked a little bit nice. So that's kind of why I focused on ground cover. I have installed an Atlas signal. I have 3 more to install, but the one that I've got in is working great, so I'm pretty excited about that. I've added a couple of trees here and there. I've painted the streams so they are ready for water effects. What else? Added the girder sections for the bridge over the storage yard, and added some more yard track. So let's take a look at what's going on. So if I turn the camera around here, you'll see in this section of layout we've got significantly more ground cover added. Most of this section here is got a good base. A couple layers are down. We've got the dirt walkway that we'll have some people on going down here to the lake. Is got one decent layer of dirt on it, so that'll continue to build and we'll blend some things together. It looks really unkept right now, which is kind of what I was going for, but that'll continue to adapt over time. I've also begun to add some track ballast in here outside of the tunnel. So if we look in the tunnel, as I said in a previous video, I spray paint those rocks black, so you can kind of see it just really darkens them up. You can't see too many details, and then I switch my ballast from my regular ballast to like a black cinder or yard ballast when I get in there, just to kind of cut down on the highlights, make it dull, and look even darker once you're inside that tunnel. So when you're standing here looking, it just looks like it gets dark and away the train goes. As we come down around here to the outer loop, you'll notice I've added some trees. This long pine here was actually one of the purchases from York today. The shorter trees I just had in the back, so I just wanted to throw those on the layout to add a different dimension. But if we come down here, this is where I've got my Atlas track signal at. And this is wired up. This is the only one I've got in the layout so far. I do plan on putting blocks in, and I will explain blocks in another video once I get that set up. This signal right now is set up on an isolated rail from right at that tunnel portal all the way over to the far tunnel portal over there. So I can quickly glance at this signal and tell if there is a train in the tunnel or not. So basically what will happen is, as a train, I take this UP caboose, once it gets onto that isolated rail, signal turns red, and that will be red as long as there's a train in the tunnel. Once it comes out of the tunnel, it'll turn to yellow, and eventually here it's going to turn to green as well. Once I have the block set up, it will stay yellow until the train's out of the next block of track, and then it will turn back to green. But these signals are awesome. I was able to pick these up online a couple months ago. Finally got one installed. Really easy to do. And I will explain those in a separate video. But having the signal, I've got some Atlas rail ties here that are just weathered and kind of sitting on the side, the trees. I really think that this section just looks so much better than it has in the past. It's really starting to come together, which makes me really happy. Over here at the bridge for the upper level, I've added the girder sections. So these consist of 3 girder bridge sections from Scenic Express. You can see where I cut them and just put them back to back. There's a gap there. I just haven't gotten in there to paint that yet. I'm also going to add some kind of some greens, so it almost looks like there's ivy kind of growing up the side, or caught in there with some dirt, so it'll hide the crease of where that's cut. But for the most part, they're looking pretty good. You know, I just basically just hot glued those onto the plywood that was kind of going across that span, and now you can see where that, you know, that rust comes right off that metal girder piece and then starts to bleed down on the concrete. So like I said, this is not you know, perfect, but it's getting the job done, and looks semi-realistic for me at a quick glance. You know, this is clearly a 2x4 with some wooden dowels, but for now it gets the job done. You know, I was at York today, as I said, and there's some beautiful bridges available for train layouts, and hopefully someday I'll be able to switch this out with one of those. But with building the whole layout from scratch, that's just not in the cards right now. If we pan down here to the river, as I said, I've got that painted. In another video, I showed you the airbrushing of the brown, but I've got some dark blue, lighter blue, and then I've got the brown for the kind of show the dimension of the creek, and then that will fall down into the lake, which will then fall down into the deeper pond down here. So no other scenery is done on this section, just got the paint completed. Moving up to the storage yard, I was able to get 2 sections of track at York today, which is this track section here, which is the TR35 track from Ross. Essentially, that just puts my my storage yard track, it just from this 4-way switch, brings it back to a parallel track with 3.5-inch track centers. So now I am able to have, instead of just 2 tracks, I have 4. So I just need to get a couple more straight sections, and we'll get those wired up and installed, and then I can kind of store some more trains in here and get some ballast put in there as well, which will be really nice. With regards to the storage yard, I've also added some lines down here and some switch machines for the yard and the other switches on this side of the layout. Where the paint's darker, basically I put pinstriping in, so I kind of just tell you what each machine, which switch each machine throws. And then I just sprayed a quick coat of clear coat over that for now, just to kind of hold that pinstripe in place. Eventually, the rest of this fascia board will get a clear coat, and that will blend in once everything is all said and done. Over here in this section of the layout, I have added a little bit more of the road. Brought the road across the creek here, which has been painted as well. Added some ground cover. This is a shed that comes with the Atlas signals, the control board I have under the layout on the far side. So this shed is just sitting here for now. Just kind of threw a tree up on the layout that's not even glued down, just for some scenery. And then the road will continue back, crosses over those tracks, and then goes underneath the girder bridge back here. And I've added a mirror, 2 separate mirrors actually, so it doesn't look that great because you can see the crease, but a mirror in the back of that portal, so it kind of looks like the road keeps going. Coming across behind the M1A and the Broadway Limited cars there, you'll see I've continued to add the Sculpt-A-Mold, painted it brown, and added the first layer of ground foam in the back, and I've got that giant tank train sitting up there on that top grade. Down below here, we've just added some more track ballast in some certain random spots. Nothing too exciting there. As we come over to the turntable, I've got another tree here, just like that other one, though it's not glued down. I just have it sitting there. The Atlas switch tower here, I was able to assemble a couple weeks ago. Painted it. It's got a little over weathered there, so that'll get cleaned up in time, but I wanted to get that on the layout. I also have the Corber Models sand house there with the sand tower, which is that came assembled. It was a little beat up from shipping when I got it. Had to patch it up a little bit, but it looks great. I just added some sandbox sand that I actually had in my shed. around it, and it looks pretty great. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out. Down here, this is the Woodland Scenics road mixture. I forget exactly what it's called. Basically, you take the powder, you mix it with water, and then you have strips of tape you put down and you pour it in between. And then once that dries, you can paint it. You sand it and paint it. I might do a tutorial on it. I wanted to give a different product to try, kind of see how I liked it. This was going to be more of a beat up road that was kind of coming to an end here. I'm going to add some like a cinder or gravel parking lot area here for the workers' cars for the turntable and yard area. So that's why I decided to go with this product as opposed to my other roads, which is just 1/4-inch plywood that's cut and then painted and looks more uniform. This has more undulations and imperfections in it. So it was pretty easy to do. So I'll probably continue this road, use the same material on the other side of this crossing and then loop around by where the station will eventually be. But I might do a little how-to or review on that later on. Panning across, we have some more ground cover over here on this side of the whisker tracks. So previously this was all sculpted mold that was painted brown. I have added a pretty significant amount of ground foam over here. Here are the drainage pipes. I will add some water effects in there in time. But yeah, this area is coming together pretty well. I've got the older whisker tracks with the cinders and then where the new sections of whisker tracks were installed. And you'll notice I've got some new trains on the layout. We've got the cab forward. I don't think that was on last time I did a review. And then I just added the Santa Fe Northern 3751 today. So we got that up here as well. You'll notice the GG1 is gone. That left on Thursday to go back to Lionel for a new control board. That will be its 3rd trip back to Lionel. So hopefully we can get this taken care of so I can have a GG1 to run all the Broadway Limited cars that you can see on the far side of the layout. So that pretty much does it for everything on the layout that's new since about a month ago. Like I said, not too much work, just some light scenery work here and there so that when I had some people come into town, it looked a little bit more put together. So let's go look at some of the items that I was able to get today at York. All right, so as I said, I was at York today. Went there with a list of things that I wanted to get. Mainly I wanted to get some sections of Glenn Snyder shelving for the basement. I needed to get more track ballasts from Dennis Brennan from Brennan's Model Railroading. I didn't want to have to pay for shipping, so I'll just get some there. And I needed some ground cover and the sections of track for my storage yard. Got there today, spent the day with my dad just looking around, and then at the end went to the stands to go buy what I needed. And the only thing that I was able to get that I needed was the 2 track sections for my storage yard. The Glenn Snyder shelving they were sold out, and Dennis was sold out of ballast. So bummer there, but it is what it is. So I'll have to order some things online or wait till October. But what that meant was I had some money left over for some other purchases. So I went to the Miller's engineering stand and I picked up the Scranton Electric City light. So my wife went to school in Scranton, so I got this to put on the layout. Once it's all said and done, it will go up on the upper level on top of one of the building flats up there. I also got the adapter to hook that up to the track or accessory AC, which is nice. So I was able to pick that up. At Scenic Express, I showed the long tall pine or long pole pine tree that's out there on the layout. I got that. I also just picked up an eco pack of ground foam as well. From Dennis Brennan's stand, I picked up some of his street schmutz, which is just like that dust or fine powder you might find along sidewalks, things like that. It's like $6. So, since he didn't have bags of ballast, I was like, well, I'll snag something while I'm there and something that I was unsure of. And so don't have to pay for shipping when I buy it at York. So we'll see how this stuff looks. I'm not going to put it on the layout yet because the layout's not ready for it, but in time we'll get this on and see how it looks. The last purchases that I made were I got this Atlas reefer. I'm slowly collecting reefers to pull behind the big boy. Hopefully I will, my plan is to weather them, just darken them up a little bit, make them dusty, look more steam era, and then get those onto the layout. So I was able to pick this one up at the end of the day today, and then I also grabbed an Atlas 54-foot container as well. This is the second one that I have. I've got one set of the Atlas Gunderson cars, but I only have one container, so I grabbed one more of those. So didn't spend too much money today, which is a good thing, but was able to purchase a couple things that I wanted. I needed some ground foam, but these are some things that I wanted, so I'm happy that I was able to do that today. If you've never been to the York Show, and you're into model trains and you have the ability to get there, I highly recommend it. I'm fortunate enough that I live less than an hour away, so I'm able to go without having to take off work or get a hotel or anything like that. But I highly recommend it. It is certainly an experience, and you can find some great deals and some awesome things there. So that is going to do it for layout update number 4. We're going to run some trains here at the end, and I hope to have another update for you within the next month or two. Thanks for tuning in.